Now for the exchange. Joining me live is Elizabeth Wathuti, a climate activist and the founder of Green Generation Initiative, who's going to those events I just mentioned. She was in Milan, she's going to COP26, she's in Dubai for Expo 2020 right now. What is your message, Elizabeth? So great to see you, by the way. What is your message to the world when you speak at these forums?
So my message to the world, and thank you so much, Larry, for having me here today. My message is that we are running out of time, and we have pretty much been speeding into the wrong direction. And it's so clear from the impacts of climate change that have continued to affect and impact the people that are the most vulnerable. So I think right now, the recent and latest IPCC science report should be our last warning. And we have to really be mindful about how our actions today are impacting the next generations, because things are not really good. And we have to make sure that whatever is changing right now, it's not just about the talks, but it's also about making sure that we are acting on every commitment that we have pledged to take.
You hear commitments all the time. World leaders understand the danger that we are in. This is a climate emergency, as you yourself have said. But do you feel that these are always empty promises?
So right now, I don't feel as though much is happening, because what we have been seeing, COP26 is coming up in less than a month. And that is 26 years of talking. And what is happening is that the gap between what needs to be done and what is being done right now keeps on widening each and every day. And I come from Kenya, Larry, you're from Kenya too, and drought has been declared a national disaster. And people are suffering from the issues of hunger as well. And I remember as a child, we would play in the stores where the maize was being stored. And it is times when we used to have a lot of harvest and we used to have a lot of produce from our farms. But right now, the farmers are not even aware of when to plant or even when to harvest. And this is because of the fact that the climate crisis has continued to impact on our agricultural system so much. So it is important that we continue to push for action. And I think it's really great that as young people, we have chosen to continue in the same path of pushing for more action.
Let's talk about our home country for a moment. You mentioned Kenya, and Kenya is going to a general election. You say that Kenyans should be asking their politicians about their climate and environment agenda. People don't often think about this. They think of bread and butter issues. Why should this be a priority?
Yeah, environment and climate change issues have never been a priority when it comes to the elections and even in politics in Kenya. And we've seen a lot more on leaders selling agendas that are not in any way related to the environment. But the reason why people should begin to care and really to begin to question our politicians, what is their environment and climate agenda, is because of what is happening in our country right now. 2.1 million Kenyans right now are facing starvation. And that is reason enough for us to understand that we are in a climate emergency. And unless we step up and pick the right leaders that are going to help us face this emergency, then it's going to be difficult for us to face the next years. A good example of the cities, for example, in Nairobi. There's a recent scientific report that says that Nairobi is going to be a city that will be uninhabitable in the next 50 years. And this is because of our recent business and development models that we have chosen to follow. So what needs to happen is we need green, clean, and resilient cities. But all of these things are not going to happen if we do not have the right leaders in place. So we have to be questioning the people that we are putting in leadership. What is the environment and climate agenda that they are bringing on board? Because at the end of the day, whatever it is that the leaders are trying to achieve right now will not matter in the end if the planet and the environment that we are in is not going to be habitable. It's about nature. It's about the environment that we are living in. It's about the food that people are eating. It's about that natural world that we've all known before back then, but right now it has continued to be degraded by our current models. So people need to begin caring about how this planet is going to look in the future, and it's only going to happen if we have the right leaders in place, and we have to question them. Right. We have to be mindful of any person that we are putting in leadership.
You mentioned the next generation. I love a picture you posted with some other young climate activists, Greta Thunberg from Sweden and Vanessa Nakate from Uganda. Young people are really at the center of this message. Why are you all speaking up?
So we're speaking up because this is about our future. And the climate crisis and ecological crisis is a matter of life and death, because people are losing their lives, people are losing their livelihoods. And right now, we are the people and the generation that are going to live longer with the consequences of the world's inaction today. and the consequences of the wrong actions and decisions of our leaders today. So we have to be the ones stepping up and shaping the kind of world that we all want to live in.
Right.
And we have visions for the world. I personally envision a world that is livable and a world where we'll put people and our planet above the profits. And we have to step up and speak up for that world.
Speaking of visions, you follow in the footsteps of a great African, Wangari Maathai, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, the first African woman to win that for her environmental work. What does her legacy mean to you? Because she was ahead of this subject years before this was at the center of everybody's attention.
Yeah, Professor Wangari Maathai has really inspired me, and I think the legacy that she has left behind is something that we ought to continue instilling in the next generations. And I am one of the people that have greatly been inspired by her, and currently I'm actually heading campaigns at the Wangari Maathai Foundation. And you can tell from the work that we have been championing, and especially through urban green spaces protection and making sure that we are instilling in her character traits into young people like courageous leadership, that her legacy continues to live on. And it's also through the green spaces that she fought for, like Karura Forest, Uhuru Park. Every time I visit these places, I am greatly inspired, and I want to thank her for what she did for our generation, because were it not for her, we would not be enjoying these spaces. And I think her legacy needs to continue living into every person right now to fight for the environment selflessly, because that is what she stood for.
Elizabeth Wathuti, well-spoken, fantastic work. We look forward to hearing your message at COP26 in Glasgow. Thank you for joining us from Dubai today.